Welcome to Visions, the Deep Dive, where we take the source material you bring us and unpack the most potent ideas, the surprising facts, and, lingering questions.
That's right.
Today, we're settling in with just one source, a short story, and frankly, it's quite unsettling. It's called The Afflicted, written by award-winning author Chris Stone. It's part of his collection, Dark Passages, which you can find as an ebook on Amazon if you're interested.
And this story, it really does plunge into some dark territory. It explores memory, aging, and just how far someone might actually go when they see their own decline as, a worse fate than exploiting others.
Yeah.
It's a disturbing read, definitely, but it sparks a lot of thought.
Absolutely. So our mission today in this deep dive is to journey through this narrative with you, look closely at the unsettling world it builds, and really grapple with the uncomfortable questions it just leaves hanging there.
Okay,
so let's unpack this first scene. The story opens, and it feels, almost calm, idyllic even. Keith is sitting in his breakfast nook, sunlight streaming in, this lemon sun casting splotchy golden hues.
Yeah.
He's got his fingers interlocked, tented over a newspaper. There's forgotten toast, lukewarm coffee. It paints a picture, right? Quiet domesticity.
It does. It really does. But the author immediately sort of undermines that calm. Those sensory details are there, sure, but they're layered over this profound sense of internal turmoil he's experiencing.
Yeah.
That lukewarm coffee, the toast he hasn't touched, they're small signs, aren't they, that something isn't quite right beneath the surface.
Exactly. Because the story immediately contrasts that the man, Keith, was this driven, successful stockbroker, real go-getter, someone who used to grab life by the balls, with how he feels now. He feels like he's been aged out, that the drive is gone, like he's just going through the motions.
And the source of this internal crisis, this feeling of being diminished, it's his memory. It's described with such vivid, almost painful terms. An infuriating fuzziness, a peanut butter, brain slow, thick, kind of stuck.
The specific examples the author uses, they really hit home, don't they? He's looking at the sports section, trying desperately to pull up the name of any Yankees player.
Right.
And they might as well use Slovakian dignitaries or breakfast tea. It's just gone.
And that struggle to remember the great 90s shortstop, the household name, the pearly smile, it's right there, isn't it? So close, but just completely locked away.
Oh, yeah.
That image of something being just behind a door you can't quite open, that feeling of a lost memory being almost a physical thing you can sense but not grasp.
Yeah.
It's such a powerful way to describe that frustration.
It really is. And the author takes that sense of loss and makes it even more personal, more chilling, in the very next moment when Keith looks across the table of his wife.
Oh, yeah. This part is really affecting.
He knows, logically, this is his wife, the person he spent his life with.
Yeah.
But there are these undeniable, specific things about her he just can't recall.
Like the earrings.
Where did those earrings come from? What did her hair look like originally? Where did they even meet? The story says it feels like she's simply always been sitting in that chair. Imagine that feeling.
It's this profound sense of disconnection, isn't it? From his own history, from his shared identity with the most important person in his life. It feels less like forgetting facts and more like forgetting who he is in relation to her.
Exactly. And there's a small detail in this scene that the author plants, like a seed.
Ah, the coffee mug.
Yeah, the coffee mug. Sunnier Days retirement home. At this point, it's just a mug, right? Maybe something his wife uses. But the fact that the author includes it here, while Keith is having these thoughts about aging and memory loss, you get the sense it's significant.
Definitely. Even if its meaning isn't fully clear to Keith or the reader yet, it's subtle foreshadowing.
It hints at the conventional paths, maybe, for dealing with aging, which makes where the story goes next even more disturbing.
Right. Because we fast forward, and Keith is arriving at some kind of clinic, apparently after having a treatment.
And the immediate physical sensations are anything but calm. He's dizzy, his head is swooning, aching stomach, his legs are pitching and wobbling, described as betraying him.
So this physical disorientation, this is the initial effect of what the story calls the clear. It's presented as, like a warm-up act maybe, a process that temporarily scrambles things to make way for something else.
It scrubs his brain, the source says, preceding lucidity.
Yeah. And the environment of the recovery room, seen through his hazy, disoriented eyes, it's just chillingly clinical. White hospital beds, needles, hissing machines.
And these unconscious patients. The author uses such a stark, dehumanizing term for them, silent donors.
That word donors, it immediately clues you into the transactional nature of this place, doesn't it? They're not patients, they're not even people in this context, they are a resource, something being harvested.
And the people attending to him are described with similarly, well, dehumanizing language.
Right. They're called volunteer nurses, but Keith's perception cuts through that. He sees their painted smiles, that cartoon-sized red painted half-moon of teeth.
Creepy.
Very. They move with this unsettling efficiency, like tiny, efficient pogs, but he sees them, or starts to see them, for what he believes they are. Fake nurses, smiling frauds.
And most tellingly, vampires.
Exactly. That vampire description isn't just a throwaway insult. It immediately establishes the parasitic nature of this place. It hints strongly at what the treatment actually involves, taking something vital from one person to give to another.
Even a small detail, like the stale chocolate chip cookie one of these nurses gives him, takes on a sinister edge. He fumbles with it at first, crumbs falling.
Which is a small sign, maybe, of his senses and control returning, but it's happening in this deeply unnatural, disturbing environment.
Which brings us to the core of it all. The main treatment, called the True. According to the clinic's doctor, Dr. Albright, it's a goddamn miracle, a wonder drug.
And the story really leans into describing its effects. As it takes hold, he feels this euphoria, his veins pulse, his brain feels lit up like every synapse is firing.
Yeah, he gets this intense mental energy, this desire to solve complex problems like algebraic equations. He even thinks about finding a cure for cancer. He feels brilliant.
But the reason he's there, the real miracle for him, is how the True brings back his memories. And not vaguely, it says, with crystal clarity.
And the examples the source gives are so vivid. That formal dinner on a cruise, he remembers the waiters looking like penguins, the specific food, his wife's dress.
He remembers his 7th grade science teacher, Mrs. Judson, and the definition of a meteorite, things he probably hadn't thought about in decades.
Say that lockbox metaphor from earlier is just blasted open, isn't it? Everything pouring out in sharp focus.
Absolutely. And among this flood of returning memories, one in particular takes on this. Well, this chilling significance given where he is and what we're starting to suspect about this clinic.
He remembers his wife volunteering.
Yes. He recalls the specific details, her blood-stained sneakers, scrubbing her knuckles raw with lava soap. And then the full memory comes back. She was a volunteer at
Sunnier Days Retirement Home. The place on the mug.
Exactly, helping the decrepit, forgotten people, trying to make their end more bearable.
The author brings back that detail, linking his wife's history of compassionate care for the elderly with his current situation, which is, well, anything but compassionate.
It's stark. He even remembers wondering back then if spending time with the dying there had aged her prematurely. It's such a poignant memory that throws his own desperate actions into a really sharp relief.
Okay, let's pivot now to the setting of this clinic itself. Because it's deliberately chosen to feel hidden, illicit. It's a refurbished warehouse.
Yeah, tucked away in a dangerous abandoned neighborhood, a place locals fear, apparently.
It's not a place with a sign out front, is it? The way they get clients is described in a really unsettling way. They don't advertise. They sought them out, meticulously search for the wealthy, the rotting, the decaying.
Which strongly suggests an inside source, doesn't it? Providing information about vulnerable individuals, maybe a hospital tipster. Which kind of circles back to how Keith ended up here in the first place.
Right, because his journey to this warehouse started with a devastating diagnosis from his regular doctor, Dr. Robinson. Rapidly aggressive dementia.
And the story tells us his initial reaction was denial, which is natural, a very human response to something so life-altering.
And then this flyer appears, just tucked in his screen door, promising things like losing your faculties, dying is a thing of the past, and that blunt command, take them back today.
And the source says it immediately erased his need to tell his wife about his prognosis. This flyer offered an alternative, didn't it? Something that felt less like an ending and more like a fight back.
And while he's waiting at the clinic, before the treatment, before the True really kicks in and clears his head, he sees this hobbling old man.
Oh, yeah. The description is grim, lurching, struggling, bitten lip, patchy hair, that vein-stripped nose. A real physical struggle, but also this apparent determination to be there.
And Keith's internal reaction is seeing this man actually makes him feel slightly better about his own condition. It hardens his resolve not to end up like that.
And then comes the conversation with this man. It's so casual, almost mundane in its delivery, which makes the horror of what he says even more impactful.
Yeah. He comments about someone named Adrian Carlson being tasty, a good one. And he explains that Doc, presumably Albright, told him today's supply came from her because she was starting to rot and they needed to finish her off.
That phrase, finish her off, in this context, it's just horrifying. And this revelation immediately focuses Keith's attention on Adrienne Carlson, who's lying on a gurney nearby.
And the author's description of her, it's graphic, deeply disturbing. Young, blonde, with these dull, gray, idiot eyes, hollowed cheeks. There's a tube in her wrist.
The story implies it could be for the clear, maybe part of the extraction process itself.
Could be. There's an EKG buzzing, a cloth cap on her head.
And the most chilling detail is this mechanical arm arching her body unnaturally and a tube leading to a collector bucket. The author describes it like a liposuction machine, but
it's taking something far more insidious. This is it. This is the source of the true. It's being harvested directly from these vulnerable young people who seem to be in a vegetative or near vegetative state.
Keith's reaction here is, well, it's the reader's reaction too, right? Feeling sick, this wave of guilt washing over him, wishing the old man was wrong, but knowing deep down that he wasn't.
The horrific realization that Adrienne's essence, her very life force, is now pulsing through his veins, restoring his memories. The desperate, futile urge to gnaw on his wrists.
But it's too late. The exchange has happened.
And it's in light of this awful reveal that the clinical euphemism for the patients, the afflicted, takes on this deeply ironic, dark meaning.
Right. It doesn't just refer to those suffering from age-related decline. It refers to those who benefit from the suffering of others. They are afflicted by their choice.
So as the physical effects of the clear wear off and the true fully takes hold, Keith checks his watch. He knows he's physically okay to leave now. His legs are firm, not wobbling anymore.
But the physical restoration doesn't erase the moral horror, does it? The source describes his internal conflict about Adrienne, this desperate urge to look away, unable to bear her idiot gaze.
And horrifying thought, even if fleeting, of putting a pillow over her face, maybe to end her suffering, maybe just to erase the living proof of what he's done. But he's scared.
Yeah, the fear of the vampiric nurses keeps him from acting.
So as he walks to the front desk, the author takes us on this final internal tour of the clinic through Keith's now fully aware, horrified eyes.
He passes the nurses, confirming his earlier label for them, stealers of life, vampires. He sees the machines, the needle.
And the afflicted, the other clients whom he now labels with this brutal clarity. Old fucks who found their fountain of youth at others' expense.
And then he sees the donors again, labeling them with these gut-wrenching terms. Society's wasted youths, a late-term abortion.
It's a stark, almost self-loathing assessment of everyone involved in this transaction, including himself. And standing there, literally in the doorway between the horrors inside and the sunlit world outside, he has this final interaction with the receptionist.
She breaks the spell, doesn't she? Pulls him out of his internal monologue, asking if he wants to schedule his next appointment.
90 days out. A specific date, September 30th.
And it's in that moment, standing there, bathed in the warm sun from outside, but feeling the profound effects of Adrienne's truth still surging through him, that a final, powerful wave of memories hits.
And these aren't just fragments. They are complete, vibrant memories. Everything. His wife's birthday, December 12th. The diamond earrings from their 23rd anniversary. An argument from 20 years ago on a cruise to Barbados. Everything about their life together.
But the most important memory, the one the story really highlights as crystal clear and utterly pure. It's the memory of meeting his wife for the first time.
Yeah. In a tiny bar, the smell of peppermint hair, dancing, their first kiss on a cold December night, the memory of complete, unconditional love, both given and received.
This memory, delivered right at the peak of the True's effect after he knows the horrific cost. It represents everything he's regained, his identity, his history, the very foundation of his love and connection.
And then the receptionist repeats her question, pulling him back to the present, back to the future implications of his choice. Sir, will you be available the 30th of September?
And the story explicitly poses that central ethical dilemma. A life for a life could ever be a fair trade.
And then immediately following, the question made so acutely relevant by that vivid memory of his wife. Could there have ever been one when it came to love?
And his final answer as he steps out into the sun, knowing the cost, feeling the rush of restored memory, is simply, yes, I'll be here.
He chooses to continue.
Wow.
This story is incredibly powerful, isn't it? In its commentary on our relationship with aging, with memory loss, we live in a society that often seems, well, terrified of decline, obsessed with maintaining youth and vitality at almost any cost.
In the clinic in The Afflicted, it takes that fear to a literal, terrifying extreme. It's not just about fighting natural decline. It's about actively, violently consuming the young, the vulnerable, to literally feed the vitality of the old.
It forces you, the reader, the listener, to confront a truly disturbing ethical question presented by the narrative. Can any perceived benefit, even regaining something as fundamental as your memories, your identity, ever justify causing such explicit, undeniable harm to another human being?
And the story offers no easy answers, does it? It really makes you think about that justification process.
And Keith's arc is central to that ethical exploration. He starts as a victim, really, of his own aging body, facing a prognosis he just can't accept.
But he makes a choice, and by the end, he's transformed into a participant, a customer, in this predatory, vampiric system. Does regaining his memories, regaining his past self, somehow mitigate or justify his complicity in Adrian's suffering? The story leaves that heavy question with you.
That vampire metaphor the author uses is so key throughout the nurses, the clinic itself, and by extension, the patients like the old man and now Keith. They are all metaphorically and quite literally in the story's world, draining the life force from the donors, these exploited youths.
It's such a visceral depiction of a parasitic relationship, all driven by the fear of aging.
Which raises an important question for you, the listener, to maybe sit with. As you think about this story, consider your own fears about aging, about the possibility of losing your memories or physical abilities. How much value do you place on maintaining the person you are now, your full cognitive function, your history?
And building on that, think about where the line is drawn between seeking health, wellness, longevity, which is a natural human desire, and actions that could be seen as exploitative, maybe even in less overt ways than this story presents.
Does our societal emphasis on youth and vitality, that constant pressure to fight aging, does it push people towards choices that might come at the expense of others, or even at the expense of accepting who they are becoming?
This story leaves you with such a stark image. Keith steps into the sun, his mind restored, his past vibrant and clear, but knowing with absolute certainty the horrific price paid for it.
It presents a bleak picture where the cost of living fully, of remembering who you are and who you loved, is someone else's life force being consumed. The story asks, does clinging so desperately to who we were, to our past selves and memories, prevent us from accepting who we are becoming, potentially at any cost to ourselves or others?
Or maybe is memory so fundamental to what it means to be human, to maintain our identity and our connections, that perhaps for some, any price is worth to retain it?
It's a heavy thought. And the story definitely doesn't let you off the hook easily.
Not at all.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into The Afflicted.
It was a truly challenging but definitely rewarding story to explore with you.
Join us next week when we review the next story in the Dark Passages collection.